Do you start there?
Yeah, please, thanks.
And let's go.
Welcome back to Where's the Arctic Fox? Last time I locked eyes with a polar bear in the Canadian tundra and decided to quit my job. Casual. If you missed episode 1, I believe I'm supposed to say that I left the link in the description. I don't yet know how to leave a link in the description, but I'll get to that. But now we're going to head further north, even further north, to find apex predator number 2, the orca or killer whale or sea panda. No one calls it that. Christ. Do you know why killer whales are called killer whales? Did you know that the orca's nickname of killer whale comes from sailors who used to see them predating on other species of whale and so called them whale killers, which eventually changed into killer whales because it sounds a little bit more gangster. All these trips here back and forth to the Arctic are absolutely maximum expensive. I had saved up for quite a long time. I only had one chance in each place to see and photograph these animals that I had to be damn sure that I was in the right place at the right time. And for orca, killer whales in the Arctic, the best and most assured time you'll find them is right deep up the arse crack of the Arctic Circle. And unfortunately, it has to be in December. That's when it's peak Arctic. That's when it's like Arctic squared, bruv. But why are sightings pretty much guaranteed? Because of a natural phenomenon in winter that involves huge shoals of herring that migrate along the Arctic coasts, and they settle in this particular fjordal, that's not a word, system in northern Norway. And the animals, you know, they're clever, they love an easy meal. So orca, they follow this huge, massive bait. The humpbacks follow the orca because they know, hey, them sea pandas know what's going on, where they're going, I want to get their food. And then sperm whales lumber slowly behind. There's even fin whales. And then dweebs like me follow all of them. The probability of finding orca in this particular situation was very high indeed, but not without its own problems. Problem number 1. I don't know if you remember physics or geography or some shit, but the sun does not rise in the Arctic in winter. It is dark. Sometimes you can see like a glow of daylight from below the horizon, but only if the weather is clear, only if there's no clouds, and then you get this insane like pink and orange light if you're lucky. Problem number 2, this is the Arctic Ocean, famous for horrific storms, treacherous seas, high winds. I was only there for 4 days, and I only had 2 days scheduled on a boat. Time was limited. Would we be able to get out there and capture the second of the 3 apex predators on my list? Because for photography, you generally need some kind of light. The word photo comes from the ancient Greek word for light. And graphy comes from the ancient word meaning drawing, light drawing. Poetic is not poetic when it's dark as a troll's hole and the wind is spraying seawater in your camera's crevices. I didn't drag, she came willingly. My partner Kim along with me for this one. She lives in Iceland, so she's used to these long dark days of midwinter, but even this was on another level. This is up there, you know what I'm saying? I was up there in the north. In January, I spoke to a dude called Steve. He spends his summers guiding whale tours in Scotland and winters in Norway and Antarctica. Don't know why I said it like that. We got on like a house on fire. You know, some people you have to like be polite, be like, hello sir, do you do whale trips? And you know, you kind of wait till you warm up until you get to know them. But Steve was like instant bamps.
Okay, so I just did a superhero landing, looking up, and that's it.
That's it, yeah.
Now I feel really self-conscious.
Yeah, please.
Like that.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Okay. I'll do a few more.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's gotta look good.
Yeah.
How's that look?
I think it's perfect, yeah. So if we just get that empty shots, if you zoom off. Steve recommended that I bring a simple 70 to 200 f2.8. The orca were used to boats and they would perhaps come closer than normal, so 200mm should be plenty, and the fixed 2.8 aperture would allow more light than my 100 to 500, which starts at f4.5. My plan was to photograph and video the animals, assuming we were lucky enough to see them. And I'll tell you, filming from a boat in the unprotected north was a discipline I had not and still have not mastered. So excuse the jank of this footage, it's like Cloverfield or some shit. So the original situation, was to charter Steve's boat with a guy called Aslan. I've still not met him, but I hold dear in my heart. He's like a pen pal with the most gnarly name ever, Aslan Steele. At the last minute, he told me he couldn't make it. I presume he was off like I don't know, saving fawns in Narnia, some shit. And I agreed that would be a priority and there was no hard feelings. But it left me with like a big payment on this boat because we were supposed to share the fees of this thing. So enter Daniel and Tashi, who are YouTube veterans, excellent photographers, don't even know the word, and filmmakers. And they're also fellow Canon dweebs. And they asked to join the boat and I pretended to be cool, like, oh, I don't know, let me think about it. But I was like, yes, because A, I was going to learn a lot from these people. B, it saves me half the cost of the damn boat. And that was it. Looking at the weather forecast in the Arctic is about as futile as asking an Arctic fox to do a backflip. Yeah, you have to just take it day by day, and it's generally good to just expect the worst. On the day of our expedition, we were in luck, or so we thought. The skies looked like they would be clear, which meant good light-ish. The wind and waves seemed relatively calm by December standards. What could possibly go wrong? We left the harbour in complete darkness, wearing every single layer known to man, as well as like these really big, cool thermal suits. But it was freezing. There's a siren over there because I'm in the ghetto. I've got these Valorette gloves, which have these little finger flaps, perfect for like Arctic adventure photographers. They're great. It's about -5, but with the wind chill, it feels like -20 out in the water. Anyway, as we leave the harbour, we start to hear this loud beeping from the boat, and like loads of smoke is bellowing out the engine. I'm thinking, this is not happening. This is the only day of good weather we have while I'm here. I cannot wait a year, mission to get here, wait for the right conditions, and then the boat breaks down. I didn't even consider that was a possibility. Steve worked out that if we just went faster, the beeping would stop. So we just did that. We just went faster, speeding away from the harbour, away from safety, and out into the unprotected wild ocean. But within half an hour, we spotted orcas, fins everywhere, even a huge fin whale just like casually there. It's the second biggest mammal on the planet after blue whales. Humpbacks were everywhere, flapping around, feeding on these bait balls under the surface made by blowing bubbles and orca tail slaps. I was shooting like a mother puffin. But the video was so hard on the boat, things moving around, trying to focus on an orca, you don't know where it's going to come up through the waves, dodging sea spray. It was like full-on workout. The photos are nice, but they don't do the journey justice, I don't think. But I'd done it, I'd managed to find and capture the second of my trio of Arctic apex predators, which was a lifelong dream to see the killer whale. I wanted to see one since I watched Free Willy when I was a kid. I wanted to be the guy that the whale jumped over. And then, it all went wrong for the first time.
So get ready for the spiral. Yeah.
Remember that beeping sound from before? The boat just gave up.
Engine's at 94 degrees, so it won't let me start at the moment, so.
We were overheating, miles out at sea, no phone reception, nothing. So we turned the engine off, so we wouldn't set on fire. And we were left just drifting out in the Arctic Ocean, miles from land, exposed to the elements. Luckily Steve, he's like a professional, he's a good guy, he wasn't leaving us in the lurch.
Yeah, can you get Orion to come and get us?
We're told that rescue's gonna come in the next few hours. But it was so eerie being out there. The engine off, the only sound was the wind and the waves against the boat. Steve, ever the optimist, had this idea. He had a hydrophone and he lowered it into the sea below the boat. He connected it to a Bluetooth speaker, and what came next is something that will stay with me forever. It was the most haunting, surreal, unforgettable moment of my life, hands down. He turned the speaker on, and we heard this. There were humpbacks, the opera singers of the ocean, singing to each other right underneath us. you can hear this clicking. That's sperm whales. This was all punctuated by the deep bellows of fin whales and the chittering of orca in the distance. And this was just like one of those moments that made up for all the travel, all the faff, the exposure to elements. It was just all worth it in that moment. We were all like emotional wrecks, completely crying. Rescue finally came. We didn't even want to get any other boat. We had to jump into this other boat. Steve stayed on the broken boat because the captain always stays with his ship. And then someone came and towed him later on because we met for beers later and it was all good. So that was that. Or so we thought. This is when shit hit the fan for the second time. To get to Skjervøy, you have to fly to Tromsø, and then you can drive, but it's like a super sketchy, takes about 6 hours along windy fjord roads, susceptible to moose collision and avalanche. Or you can take the Kushti ferry, which is basically like a hop on and off cruise ship. It takes about 3 or 4 hours. On the way there, we saw the most amazing aurora from the boat. On the way back, we had warnings of gale force winds, which did not bode well because our flights had changed to earlier in the morning, so we would miss the bad weather. But we had to make sure we got back to Tromsø that night, so the ferry had to pick us up. All day I was calling them, checking if they were en route. I was tracking them, on like boat tracking websites and apps to see the progress of the vessel. Every time I phoned, they were like, yeah, we're coming. I was like, it's windy, Rev. The wind was awful, the rain was sideways. But finally we saw the boat started peeping around the corner of the bay. So we raced down to the harbour, slipping, flopping and battling the elements. The boat comes in, comes into the harbour. It starts to turn around. We're like, what's it turning around for? Maybe we're just going to back into the harbour, like beep, 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 beep. And then the boat just leaves. It just disappears. I call the boat and I'm raging. I was like, you could have told me this earlier, I would have arranged alternate transport. They're like, we couldn't land. I was like, no shit. It's windy. You told me you could. Anyway, we were stuck, stranded again. But by some sheer luck, we managed to find a taxi. There are only 2 in the town. We found the one that has a driver called Kim, who was willing to drive us all the way to Tromsø in the storm for a cool 650 quid. But it was fine, I was elated at finding the Orca, the adventure I had experienced, the people I'd met. Money well spent, sort of. It was rinsed. But still, where the fox was the Arctic fox. Tricksy little bastard and the most elusive of all. That story's in episode 3. Flick and click the subscribe, bring the snacks. We're gonna go fox hunting. Not really with the guns. And see you there, bye. We don't know if we can cross this river. We've been driving for 3 or 4 hours. And we have to get to the location so we can try and find the Arctic fox. I don't really know what we're gonna do. But I think we're gonna try it.